What's going on, Rippa fans and Rippa fam? And Andrew here, and we are back with the third episode of Control Z, our Rippaverse Artist podcast. And today we have a special guest guinea pig artist that we will, guinea pig artist, same thing. The great Eric Hodson, who is the interior artist on Achromatic Chronicles Green, which you can check out right now because the campaign is live over on Rippasense. So be sure to check that out. But we will get to him in a moment. If you are new here, I would encourage you to check out episodes 1 and 2 of Control Z because we have a ton of fun here, and we try to give you guys some great insight into the processes of these fantastic artists that we have that are part of our team. And now we're going to get the opportunity to give you a little bit of an inside peek to the process of someone who is not part of our team, but who we have very much enjoyed working with. I am Andrew Rodriguez. I'm the creative manager and lead editor over at the Rippaverse, among other things that get thrown at me at any given moment. And that's perfectly fantastic because I love what I do here. And with me are the illustrious illustrator team from the Rippaverse. We've got our art director, Kanan White. You recognize his work from at least a cover from all of our books and just about every t-shirt and poster these days as well. We've got our lead illustrator, Igor, as well as one of our art editors here at the Rippaverse, and he's been doing fantastic work with us from the very beginning. And the man behind the vast majority of the designs that you see in our books to one degree or another, Marcos, who is our concept artist here, and he's fantastic as well. So once again, guys, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you guys really get some good insight into the processes of these incredibly talented gentlemen and have a lot of fun in the process as well. So without further ado, Mr. Eric, I'm going to pass the baton on over to you. Welcome to Control Z. You are essentially the guinea pig because you are our first guest artist here. So welcome to the hamster cage, I guess. Is that we can... that might be what we go with. Hamsters have traditionally kind of been a thing around here, so I think the theming works just fine. But give us a little insight into how you started in the industry, what it's like working on Achromatic Chronicles. Just give us the rundown. Who is Eric Hodson?
Well, thank you for that wonderful intro. I really appreciate that. I'm very happy to be here. As Andrew said, my name is Eric Hodson, and believe it or not, I've been in the indie comic space since 2005. That's when I self-published my first book. I know, and I didn't learn my lesson either. I did 2 or 3 more before it was actually cool. I mean, we're talking black and white interior days on newsprint and whatnot. But I digress. And as you could probably glean from that, making comics has been in my blood. It's all I've ever wanted to do. It was part of my personal therapy during high school. I would just scratch and draw little comics in my notebooks and stuff. And my head was always in the clouds, coming up with stories. There's just no other thing for me to do. And yeah, I am the artist on Achromatic Chronicles Green. It's been a wonderful experience. Jay is a little bit of a slave driver, but in a good way. And
Tell me something.
Actually, he's a big pushover teddy bear. But we have a really great story there that I am a privilege to be a part of because, like Jay, I have a big heart for children. My own characters, like Dreaded Dinosaur Man, those are things that I'm developing because I want a little boy nowadays to have what I had when I was a kid because I needed Optimus Prime and Lion-O. Yes. They became figures that I actually learned some things from. And I don't see kids having anything really like that anymore. Yeah. It's getting better. You guys are a big part of why it's getting better, but we need more of that for the younger audiences. And so I'm pleased as punch to be a part of that series.
That's fantastic. And before we move on, I'd really like to, because you touched on something that I think is very important and not enough people put emphasis on, especially in the indie comics space, because all of us here are grown flippant adults and we've been reading comics for a great many years, and so we're in a position where plenty of content is appropriate for us, and we tend to be the people who are creating comics and still reading comics, and there isn't enough content that is actually genuinely appropriate for that really younger audience, your kids, can now read through, like 10, 11 years old, and there isn't enough of that out there. In fact, not just isn't enough, there's barely anything to speak of that I can see, to my best determination, in the indie comics space specifically. And that's because I think a lot of the guys that are creatives and a lot of the guys like myself, and I think everybody here I can speak for, that support a lot of indie comics, whether it's stuff on Indiegogo, Kickstarter, Fund My Comic, stuff through Rippersend and Rippaverse and anywhere else, Iconic Comics, they're fantastic too. All of us are kind of coming from a place where we like miss, the best of the 90s and the best of the early 2000s, and even some of the stuff in the 80s as well. And it's like not just not a lot, but like most of that stuff is not appropriate for children. So I think it's really important to have that content available. So what is that like, to know that you are part of something that is really trying to provide appropriate content, because there's a sheer lack of that in today's entertainment, for kids, for a younger audience, that parents can be very comfortable and feel safe actually handing this to their little ones?
When I was a very young kid, in my family history, I forget his name, but he came up with the character Clifford the Big Red Dog. So that creator is actually a distant cousin of mine.
Oh wow!
Really?
When I was really little, me and my cousin, we both got original Clifford books that he signed as presents when we were basically born. So I grew up kind of with this wonderful keepsake from that period. And now, me at 46 years old, I'm a grandfather. I have a 1-year-old granddaughter. And I am so thrilled to be able to be in a position where I'm creating a legacy that she can enjoy that.
Yeah.
She's going to be able to read green, blue, although I didn't draw blue, but she'll read blue, she'll read green, she'll read red when that comes out. She's only a year old now, so I'm building that legacy for her when she's able to read. And you just spread that out across everybody. Yeah. And there's a whole bunch of, we're all in our 40s. We've all got, most of us have kids, I think, by this point. What have they got? We're giving them what we had as a kid, because what's currently available is just not, like you said, not up to snuff. Yeah. And I have a little bit of a thesis for why that is, because we like to call ourselves adults. A nice little anecdote: my daughter came over to get her baby, and she's like, made a comment about adulting, and she's like, I still feel like I'm 12. Honey, that never goes away.
Nope.
It really does.
No, it doesn't.
It never goes away. So I think a lot of it, we're creating stuff for the inner child in us still. And maybe we don't realize that we need to be doing something for another generation. Because right now, I got to tell you, outside of speculators buying these beautiful books here that are part of the Fantastic Collection, that's our generation doing this. The younger kids aren't looking at collecting comic books still. Anime and manga is huge.
Yep.
Stuff like Dogman and all that is huge. But for that middle area where we're creating these adventure short form stories and comic books, they're not going to that. And we got to change that.
Yeah.
I think, to your credit too, Eric, man, is that, like you said, leaving a legacy, creating content for the next generation. Like you said, none of my kids read what I make, but they'll read like 40 to 100 page manga. They read webtoons all the time. So, but to the credit on with that though, what we're doing with the Rippaverse, like creating Yaira, ISOM, things like that, and creating what you're doing, Eric, those teens will eventually become adults, and having content and stories that really showcase the traditional, what a hero is, good versus evil, right versus wrong, where lines are, sometimes they're gray, but then you gotta have characters, man, where that's why, I'm a fan of Superman. I say I got the ring to prove it. he's always been that character, man. That his naivety, as powerful as he is, his idea of a hero is humanity, which is why he tries so hard to blend in. But at the same time, man, like, and I know people had truth, issues with him changing from Truth Justice in the American way, but I actually do like Truth Justice and the Better Tomorrow, because that's kind of what he is, a Superman for the world. And so, having that character, man, like, he is kind of like the last vestiges of that type, and they've tried to change that, and every time the public has met a resistance, because they want the hero, they want the guy that, like, when nobody else. I told somebody, I got a kind of like an epiphany of why people create heroes, is because you create when you can't. And the reason why Superman was created during wartime, when you feel inadequate, you create a character that can. Yeah. And that's what Superman was. He wasn't meant to relate to us, per se, to be like human, or, but at the same time, when you need to rise to occasion, when you need to move a mountain, that's his job. That's what he does. When you need somebody to stand against the most vile things in the world, that's what Superman does. That's his job. And so you're right, man. Like, I said, what you've done with Green, and what we're doing with the Rippaverse, man, it's so vital. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, as my kid is 7 months old. She's not gonna read the stuff that I draw for sure for a long time.
Well, to be fair, you also like drawing all the creepy stuff, Igor.
Yeah.
So like
for a long time, more than I read, like the stuff that I was going to draw, because I was reading stuff that wasn't appropriate to my age, and I expect to be better, like not a better parent, but like more watchful in that regard. But it's really nice to see stuff like Blue Green coming out, because like it gives me hope, right? Like that she can read some of the stuff that we're involved in some manner, like just knowing like the artists and Jay and everyone, like that brings me solace in a sense, like where like she's gonna read something that like I know it's good, and I know like it's appropriate, and it's gonna teach her to believe in something better, like in heroes and values and stuff that doesn't need to be because not everything needs to be like gray, like everything needs to be dark, or everything needs to be like
Absolutely.
we need all sorts of story, right? Like, I really like that. Like I was so happy when like I saw the first book doing well, and then like Green came to the represent. Like I was really excited, because getting to know Jay, like you see the type of person that he is. It's a very kind person. Like you almost can't believe that. Like and seeing like the book come together, it's very nice. Like the artwork, like when I got the pages, I was looking at it. I was like, it is so nice. Like this, like I wish I had that book when I was a child. Like it's very good.
And it's a great gateway too.
Yeah.
Before we move on, like you got to get what you expose kids to, good or ill, when they're younger, they'll carry that forward with them many times. Like my dad exposed me to superheroes at a very young age. He got me my first 2 comic books, Man of Steel 0 and Flash 0. When I was like 7 or 8 years old. Yeah. And and I carried that with me through to now my mid-30s, right? You carry that with you. And so and that works for good or bad. So if you expose kids to bad stuff at a young age, that's going to have a profound negative impact on them. That's why it's so important to expose them to positive things, positive lessons, universal truths, things about morality that they can have as a good baseline. Obviously, parents should be doing the ultimate teaching, but when it comes to entertainment, the entertainment should be able to supplement that in a positive manner. And the stories that you and Jay are putting together with Achromatic Chronicles are a contributor to that in a positive one. So thank you for putting out content there that I think a lot of parents are grateful to have as an option for their little ones. Yep, because there isn't enough of that. So
before we move on, I wanted to ask Eric, like, how was the creative process on Green, and how did you get involved in the project? Like, did you know Jay before? Did he contact you? How was that?
So I knew of Jay, but Jay didn't know me. And I got involved with my friend Pixel Trader and Piper's Adventure on a little thing called AR-13L, the Little Mermaid, which is up on Fund My Comic till the end of the year. And then we're actually going to launch a Kickstarter as a second chance campaign for it. Wrapping that up, I got about 20 more pages to draw. So when my art came out about that, because it was at a flashpoint where the Little Mermaid movie was coming out, the live action remake, and it really originally kind of started with this shitpost idea to poke fun of it. So my buddy Pixel Trader did this AI image of Ariel Little Mermaid with a machine gun just to get the views, just to get the clicks. And it resonated so much with people. They're like, when's this coming out? Who's drawing this book? And within 20 minutes of that, I was in his DM saying, I'm drawing it for you. And Piper was saying, I've already got a story. It was kismet, the whole thing kind of came together. Well, anyway, so my art actually gets to Jay, who in the back of his mind has got this grand pirate adventure that he's working on. He sees my more detailed work, my cover I did for that, because I can kind of go back and forth in style. I have a cartooning style and then more serious, with all the hatching and cross hatching and all the big muscles and stuff. So he saw that, and that caused him to reach out to me because he had just lost his artist that came over from Blue, because that individual's dream job opened up and they didn't have the time anymore. So he was looking at a few other people. He reached out. He said, hey, can you send me some, how would you draw the character? And I sent him the cover. I just did the cover, like the blue cover, but for green. And I sent him a model sheet, and the rest was history.
Oh, so that cover for green was the first piece that you sent Jay?
Yeah.
Here's my test piece. Jay likes it so much. All right, cool. That's the cover for green. Let's go next.
Yeah. Oh, I wish I could make covers like that.
Logos and stuff that I could look at and play with. He's like, I have none of that. Here's a PDF. That's all he had left was like the print PDF for the book. So I actually reverse engineered the cover for green so we could keep the same theme.
It's awesome.
That's crazy. Well, you did a great job.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You did a fantastic job. So thank you for that insight.
The connecting covers are my baby. That was my idea. So you guys are going to wait till the last minute, make sure and get those connecting covers.
The connecting covers are cool as heck. So guys, I'll plug Achromatic Chronicles Green's campaign before we end the show this afternoon, but definitely check that out, because those alternate covers that are available, whether it's the connecting covers for blue and green, whether it's the collector's edition cover by Will Conrad, they're all fantastic, and it's great to have those options. So we're gonna
did for blue. That one just looks so good.
Yeah. 1000% agree with that.
So cool.
Let's move into some time lapses, because the gentlemen here, who are all illustrious illustrators, and then you have me, and plus me, who is not. They each had a prompt that they did a nice, fun time lapse piece, just like in the previous 2 episodes. So every single episode, if you're new here, we pick a theme, and we give the guys quite a bit of creative freedom with what they want to do. It just has to have something that ties into the theme. And this month's theme was dealing with December and things like snowball fights and all sorts of, holiday, Christmassy imagery. And I think you guys in the chat are going to absolutely love every single one of these guys' pieces. I had a ton of fun looking at them, and I'm going to have even more fun, and I hope you do as well, looking at them and getting the insight into the creative process for each one of these pieces, and getting behind the eyes and the brain of these illustrators. So we're gonna kick it off with our guest artist. Sorry, it may as well be a synonym at this point. I can't help myself. So we're gonna start with Mr. Hodson. This is like, I don't even want to hit play. Like, I kind of want to just leave it there and be like, yeah, guys, so this is the piece. Enjoy it, because it's freaking phenomenal. But I will hit play. I will. And quick reminder, guys, if you are a Rippaverse member, which you can sign up for as low as $5 a month, that gets you not only the newest issue of the Rippazine every single time we drop a new one of those for free, the base cover. You also get access to monthly wallpapers for both mobile and desktop. And these wallpapers that we do here on the show are extra on top of that. So make sure you guys are signed up for our newsletter and that you're signed up at least for the $5 membership on the website so you can get your hands on all these awesome pieces, because these are a ton of fun to slap on your phone. All right, Eric, take us through your process, my good sir, because this piece is just so much fun. There's so much going on here.
Yeah, so I knew I wanted to do something where the horseman was in the foreground, so that's kind of where I started at. Originally, my original idea wasn't going to do like the full Snowball fight. I was thinking about him already having the snow on him, like he'd already been hit. And then I was like, you know what? There needs to be a little bit more tension here. So maybe he's concentrating on making his snowball because he's completely oblivious that Fortuna is chucking a nice giant ball of ice at him in the background. So you're getting this tense moment, and it allows the viewer to kind of really figure out, okay, what's going to happen next? Start those thought processes going, like, how is Horseman going to react to getting hit in the side of the head with a snowball dead on?
It's awesome.
They're great little touches that you did this. I just want to bring up before I toss it over to the actual talented people here on the panel. Like, I love that, and we'll see it when it comes back around into the colored finish phase. But the little details that you added that called back to the world of Achromatic Chronicles, like yes, obviously you have Fortuna, you have green in the background further, but more specifically, you have green turning the snowman's beanie green.
Yeah.
And I really like that. That
Very
actually
nice.
probably stood out the most to me, just because that's one of those little things that you could easily miss. You could easily have completely just ignored. It doesn't necessarily make or break the piece, but it really does. It's one of those fun little details that elevates the piece and tells you, yeah, the actual thought was being put into this.
Yeah, that was the hat was the last thing that needed to be brought into the color world. So
yeah, and I think you did a fantastic job with it, gentlemen.
Cool.
What are your thoughts on this piece?
I love the horseman's expression, man.
Yeah.
I mean, beyond that, honestly, Eric, you do a good horseman mask like that. It's not easy as you think to draw that mask, and you nailed it, man. Like
Thank
big
you.
time. Even because I always, for me, I don't usually draw masks people, but it's like trying to fit the ears in and how far they stick out and stuff like that is like always like a catch-22 for me. But I mean, you nailed his armor, man, and just that's the little cosmetic stuff, man. But I love her expression. Like you said, I love the glow of the green upon the hat. Really shows that it's giving off light and energy. Even setting the mood, like it doesn't. You could tell that it's just like kind of just about, or if not already evening, and that it's basically the city is what's kind of lighting where they are because they're kind of like in a public little area. But yeah, like it's
a park somewhere or something like that.
Yeah. Well done.
I really like the pose, like for Fortuna, because like when you see the sketch, you can see like the movement already, like just
The motion, yeah.
I love the little touches, like the leg, the other leg, like just off the ground. You're like, oh, that's a powerful throw. Yeah.
She's kind of. I'm sure you guys do it once in a while. You'll like act out what you're trying to think
for
of.
sure. Yeah. Look like a fool drawing, like making expressions by myself. Yeah, all the time. It's really good.
You know what I noticed though that I really like the contrast of the kind of the inking style between Fortuna and Horseman.
Yeah.
Because you made Horseman with that inking that's more like Kanan does, like more comic booky, like like the shading with the black, and then Fortuna's more colorful. it really contrasts that, and I really like that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's a good observation.
Yeah, for the colors and the ink, like if you pay attention to
Yeah,
the armor,
exactly.
like it has like a lot of reflections and stuff like that. Very good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wanted to bring him into her world and her into his,
Yeah.
but not make it so it's like super stark.
Yeah.
Just enough.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, I
almost-
can see it. Like it's drawn by the same person, but
Yeah.
like they come from slightly different realities. Like so just
It's very well balanced.
yeah.
Mhm.
It reminds me of I know you guys have probably heard of, or if not seen, if not even played Smash Brothers.
Oh yeah.
And that's one of the amazing things that always stuck out to me about that game is that every character looks the way they do in their game.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
In the game, in the fighting game, it's like that's like wow, like that's pretty good.
Most of
Yeah,
these
they
characters
try
don't have any business being around each other, yet they're all occupying the same
Yeah,
space, and they
yeah.
look
Yeah,
great doing
exactly.
so.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I mean, it's but also to the emotional or the I guess you'll say the personality side. It's just funny the contrast between her and him because for her
Yep.
she's like just playing a little snowball fight, but she has no idea the
What she's messing with.
PTSD that the horseman has. So it's like it's more than just getting hit with a snowball, man. It's like a trigger.
Right?
He's about to kill her.
Yeah, I figured with his heightened senses that
Yep.
he's going to have that, oh shoot,
Yeah.
second moment. That's what I was trying to capture.
Yeah, that's very good. Like even the way he's squeezing, like the
You're right, he's
snowball,
like crushing
like,
it.
it's like over.
Yeah, he was concentrating on making this snowball, like really getting into it.
Perfect weapon. Like,
Right? Dipping in some
He's like,
water, shake it.
yeah, he's like, I dare someone to throw something. He's like, he wants to throw.
That's awesome.
That was a phenomenal piece. Any more comments from the other artists here on your thoughts on that? Was a really good bring, Marcos, about the
True.
slight differences in style
Mhm.
style choice on those to make it stand apart. That was really good.
yeah, and I wanted to talk like because I got to draw like the characters in blue and green for a bit, like for the promotional art, and people have the wrong impression that like drawing cartoony characters is easier than drawing like hyper
Oh,
realistic.
yeah.
It's like the complete opposite. Like I was breaking my hands over the characters
Yeah.
because if you put too much, it looks weird,
Yep.
and if you don't put enough, you don't get like the form, the shape, the movement,
Yeah.
right? That the characters usually have. So I was going over the pages on green, and I was like, God damn it, how does it do that? Like, and I had to
Yep.
redraw and draw again. And then when it goes to color, it's like you can't put too much. Like, definitely, it's cell shaded.
Yep.
But then you add like the
Mhm.
slightest gradient, and it's like, oh, it's too much. And then you have to go back and do it again. It took me more time than probably like the Yara campaign, and I did like 5 or 6 pieces for it. So
Yeah,
it's
breaking
really
the,
like
the
intricate.
uncanny.
Sorry, Marcus.
Sorry, yeah. No, sorry. I was just saying it's hard to break the illusion of a uncanny valley.
Yeah.
You know, something looks too realistic for this tile, or 100%.
Definitely.
Yeah, great piece, Eric. Like that might actually end up my own wallpaper. So just excellent first. You came up to bat and you didn't bat an eye. You're like,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I got this. This is easy.
Yep. Knocking out the park. Yes, sir.
Knocked it right out the park. Absolutely. All right, next we are going to check out the piece from our concept artist, Marcos.
Yes.
And I'm so glad
that
he
was neat.
did. I'm so glad he went the direction they did with this, as
Like
well
a
with
commission
a little
for
bit
Andrew.
of poke it. Well, look. All right, so all I have to do is pull it up. You guys will see why. All right, like look, I have biases. All right.
You can't start it from if you. Yeah, it's not going to be the actual image.
No,
At the
I know,
beginning.
I know.
But it's cool to see, like, it's cool to see the process, right? I
Mhm.
love that this image is there because, like, you get to see the idea and then you changed it. And I
Yeah,
wanna
you
know
see it flesh
why you
out, see it
changed
evolve.
Yeah.
You would have seen a lot more if Clip Studio didn't want to like middle finger me. Like it was because it got screwed up and I ended up deleting. It ended up deleting the whole time lapse. I was really pissed. It went
Oh,
through
man.
three different iterations. Wait, hold on. What's going on? It's already at the coloring. If you go back real quick to the beginning, the very first sketch. That one, yeah. That was, I think, was that the first? I think it was the first, Andrew, because I remember I showed you another one first, but then you told me to change up some of the costume stuff. But the idea behind this whole piece initially was one of the covers for Yaira. Yaira cover B, is it? The one with
Yeah, Will Conrad's
Maggie?
cover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Did you have Yaira in the foreground, like on the ground, trying to defend against Newmite?
Mhm.
But I wanted to like twist it around, like instead of being Yaira, it'd be Stefania, and then she's like fighting with Yaira in the snowball fight. Like she got beat down by Yaira, and she's like about to try to come back, but Yaira's like, "Don't do it."
Poor
Looking back at her. I ended up switching.
Fluff around and find out.
Yeah.
Oh, look at with the hand on the hip and everything. That's my girl.
I ended up at last moment wanting to switch though, because I kept looking at it and something was off to me about it. So I decided to go with this idea instead, where instead of having Stefania like on the ground, it's more like challenging Yaira with the snowball about to hit her. And she's like, "Really? You want to do this?" And then it's supposed to be like this background is like a storm, like a snowstorm, and
Nice.
trying to signal that she's like she's controlling this, but she's causing the weather. He's like, "Really? You want to do this with me right now?" And then I went with a pose that kind of like struck that type of feeling. Because you know, Stefania, if you've read Yaira, you know that Stefania and Yaira have a kind of
Beef.
let's just say a beef.
Yeah, you would think.
We'll call it a beef.
Yeah. And Stefania doesn't really, you know, get her way usually. She's kind of always like an underdog, honestly. But she always had this this like competitive nature with Yaira. So I kind of wanted to put that into the piece, and I decided to give Yaira a full red Santa suit, a variation for her outfit.
Nice.
Because I don't know, I really love playing with her outfit when it comes to like doing
I
these
would
type
too.
of fun pieces. Yes, speak, Andrew. I didn't really know what to do with Stefania's though, because Stefania's outfit is more like tech, more like Alpha Core. So I was
I
like,
think you did
it
a
works.
great
kind of,
job. Yeah, it really works.
I decided to give her a skirt with like something that looks similar to the Alpha Core, and I was like, all right, well, green is already her color, so might as well, and it fits well for the theme of, you know, holidays, greens, red.
Got you.
So
Yeah.
went with that.
Stefani's got
they have
them
contrast
gymnast
with-
legs. Dang.
Yeah, man.
Not skipping
I
leg
make sure
day.
to I made sure to highlight that, like keep it in the foreground, because actually that was one of my favorite parts of this piece. Her thigh.
Very good. Like
Yeah.
I love the colors. Like the colors from here are like perfect. Like the render on the muscles and everything. Like the details
you.
on the dresses. Like it's not overwhelming, but like you've managed to. I even threw it on like Photoshop to see the values. Like I put it black and white and was like, oh, this would work. Like as
Yeah.
a black and white piece. It was very good.
I love Yaira's pose, man, and
Yeah.
that just the whole
Thank you.
ambiance, man. Both their poses are really well done and balanced. Yeah, I mean you leveled up with this one, definitely, but you know, just the rendering of the character forms and the balance between the, you know, the weight distribution and stuff like that, man, is like really even Yaira's expression, you know, is really good. Yeah, I was like, man, we need to find a way to make that outfit standard.
You'll get no complaints out of me.
Start her.
Kind of nice. Actually, but honestly, man, both of them
with that.
are. I like the Alpha Core one too, man. Like that. That's nice.
Hey, with the belt and everything.
Yep.
Yeah. What about you, Eric? What do you think? Because you're not excluded from these discussions.
Yeah.
No. It's like it's just the way my brain works. I keep noticing that she's basically aiming for the seat of the problem, you know.
And she's gonna bean her right on the rear.
I took a
I didn't notice that.
the whole environment though is very well done. I like how the snow is nice and gritty. You can tell they've been doing some things. This isn't the first, they've been moving around in it. And I always like snow is like with the cartoon cell shading. It's a little bit easier, at least in my mind, to do the shadows with the snow. When you're trying to render it out real, you can muddy it up really easily. So, and you've got a nice you got even tones in there without it looking like pale dirt. So it's coming off really nice.
Yeah, I didn't actually know if I wanted to shadow the snow because it was so bright. I ended up adding just a little bit there at the bottom because it felt a little bit
it's a
off.
nice contrast. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it balances nice. It balances nice
It
that
does.
way. If it was
Yeah.
just left stark white, it would seem just that. It would be stark.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
they would like they're floating as
Yeah.
opposed
Yeah,
to
it grounds
which,
them
I mean,
on the
since they
scene,
both
yeah.
fly, it wouldn't be
Floating.
True.
I mean, they
That is
both
true.
fly, so it'd be
Yeah.
No, but the foot,
only thing I
like
think-
the feet is like, it's a nice touch. Like it grounds them, puts
Yep.
power in the move, like
Indeed.
the poses, right? Like you have the ground to use as leverage to throw. It's very good.
Yeah, great work,
I was
amigo.
gonna say the only thing that I noticed now that I probably could have done better is Yaira's hair is the only thing that's kind of like static compared to the rest of the stuff with the wind. Like
Yeah,
you see
there
the
isn't
hat.
much movement in her hair.
Yeah, it would definitely the
I
way
could've,
the hat's blowing, it would blow too.
Yeah, exactly. Because the skirt, Stefania's hair, everything. I think I left it like that because I didn't want to cover her face because it would have
Yeah,
technically been kind of in the way. But I could have still done something at the bottom to make it a little
Like
bit
a
at
few
least flowy.
strands, and then the rest of the hair, like
Yeah.
less movement. Yeah, you can sell that.
Yeah, you pull a Michael
Really good.
Turner and you just do a handful of strands going the direction of the wind and leave everything else. Like, it's like she just had a perfect blowout, right?
Yeah.
No, great work, buddy.
True.
Great work.
Thanks.
All right, let's move on to the next one.
It wasn't gonna have a border originally, like the golden border, like a frame. But I showed it on the chat, and Kanan and other people agree that it looks better.
You remind me of a postcard.
Yeah, kind of like a Christmas
Exactly,
card
yeah.
or postcard. No, that's a good idea. Good bring. I support that. All right.
Yeah, I'm
This
gonna add
piece
one
is
to mine
great.
as well.
Igor, you freaking knocked it out of the park with this piece. I love it so much.
Oh, nice.
That's cool.
This is so good.
That's awesome.
We all went the same way, like when it comes to like, me and Marcus, like Yaira is overpowered, and then like if you see on Kanan, like the details, the same thing happened. Like Yaira's overpowered, like that's the because it's a snow fight. Like
It's not
Yeah.
fair.
Right? It's like this is literally like y'all merely adopted the snow
yeah,
type
yeah.
of
I was
a.
born in it.
I was
Here's
born
one
of it.
worse.
Right. So walk us through it, brother.
Yeah, so I start with a small thumbnail. It's something that I always like tell people to do because it's the way you think like faster. You don't get attached to detail, and then you can like flash things out. I changed like Yaira's pose a bunch, and then the size of the figure, if you pay attention as well, because it doesn't look like she's behind Brian. And I wanted to sell that like he is focused on item, and then like he doesn't know what's coming behind him. Like the Yaira is gonna throw like a massive like spirit bomb or something like that out of snow and both their heads. So I keep like that's the beauty of digital work. Like you can like just resize her and then resize again and then just like mess around and fix things. So that's basically what I'm doing. Like the inking part is gonna be where I add more detail. Like the other pieces, like usually I just like draw the characters like anatomy. Once that's pretty much fixed, I go into more details because by this point like the uniforms are pretty much like engraved into my brain, but you can always go to the concept art and look for more details. It's actually good that you do that. It's an advice that anyone drawing a comic book can have and follow. Like always go back to the concept art every few pages because you're gonna make mistakes and you're gonna simplify stuff to your own like bias,
Yep.
and you're gonna end up like with a different version of the uniform by the end of like 90 pages than you started with. So even small details like hair and stuff like that, you can mess things up very fast if you go like if you don't have like all the pages. So always reference the concept art. I keep opening like Marcus concept art all the time, like, and I've been drawing
Yeah, rest
ISOM
in
for
peace.
like three years or something like that.
Yep.
No,
Yeah.
I love this piece so much. I love the call out to Dragon Ball with the
Yeah.
Spirit Bomb, Genki Dama,
Yeah,
whatever name
that's
you
all
want to
I
go
grew
with.
up with. Yeah,
Like,
that's
I
what
saw
made me
that
start drawing.
the second I saw that, I'm like, Yaira's freaking ice spirit bombing these guys right now. That is amazing.
I really wanted that because like it's been a while since because when I was a kid, that's all I drew, like was Dragon Ball, like that was my thing. And then like as you grow up, like I started reading Spawn and other stuff, and then you get into like American comic books. But the Dragon Ball and One Piece like has been a huge influence on me. So it's always nice when you get to reference it a little bit. Uh, I messed around with the cape for Brian a lot because there was like a problem of contrast. The wind was blowing that way. I didn't want to put it the other way because I wanted some volume add to that. But it was, and then you can see that I lightened the inks a little bit on the cape, just a tiny bit to separate ISOM from it. Because if you get all blacks all the time, like the inks can muddle up,
Yeah.
and you
You're
don't
trying
know
to
what's
say.
in front, what's in the back.
Mhm.
Yeah, by the end of it, I'm gonna make sure like only ISOM has black inks all over it, and then the others have like a slight tone difference, so that you see there's like a thing called atmospheric perspective, where things that are
Yep.
far away will have more air to it, so you're gonna see less detail, which you can use to your advantage. When I draw like the background, you can see that there is difference in the inks and everything. I wasn't going to color it, but it looked dumb without color, so I decided to color everything. And then I had to add background, and then it looked like dumb without color, and I was like, okay, I have to color
I
this.
guess we're
Yeah.
just doing the whole thing. We'll do it
Yeah.
live.
But I have to say, I didn't like this piece at all. Like I like some of the poses, but like there was so much I was going to change. Yeah, so I'm drawing the background there. And then my
Oh, your
wife said, "Oh, you
specialty.
have to add the
Very
snowman."
nice.
So I added a snowman.
I love the nice little touch. I'm gonna pause it real quick. You put the Rippaverse hat logo
Oh yeah,
on
of
the
course. Like you have to do it.
on the
I've been doing it
snowman. Love it.
forever. Like anytime I have a chance, like if a character has a hat, has the Rippaverse logo in it. It's
Product
branding,
placement,
like...
ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, it's fair.
Gotta remind the people, yeah, this is the brand. But I got to draw backgrounds, which I love. Like I love painting backgrounds, drawing backgrounds. So it sets the mood. It's easy to do if you're smart about it. Like you can do it. It doesn't let it overwhelm you. Because perspective is not hard, especially when it's not your environment. You can knock it out of the park really easy. So and it adds so much to the drawing. Like having a background sets your piece apart. Like if you're working on a portfolio, always draw like a background on one of the pieces at least. And if you're drawing comic books, please add backgrounds to your pieces, because you have
Yes,
to
please.
draw them all the time. So it's
Yeah.
not when people come to ask for advice and they don't have backgrounds, it's like there is a lot missing in this. You have to draw backgrounds. Don't skip those. Don't skip lag days and don't skip backgrounds.
Don't skip background day.
Yeah, don't skip background day. That's it.
There's just so much fun going on with this piece. Gentlemen, what are y'all's thoughts on this?
I'm glad you included the moon in the sky because you'd swear she was holding the moon.
Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth.
That is a strength feat we have not shown her to have just yet.
Right.
Dude, she's gonna kill him with that Snowball, I swear.
Yeah, hopefully. Like
Not only that, man, it's like she's infusing them up with ice. So it's not even just like snowball. It's like a ice ball.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So then,
You're,
and the cameraman.
Yeah. Well, it's like one of those
So
mean
big.
snowballs. Like if you were a real
You're right.
prick.
You dip it in the water.
Yep, get a little layer of ice going on that sucker, and then when it hits, it stings like a mother.
Yaira doesn't play by the rules, like we've seen
Nope.
that time and time again.
Well, she plays by
Yeah.
rules. They're her rules, and they can change
Yeah.
at any given moment if she feels like it.
I'm gonna stay out of this one because we don't have snow here, Puerto Rico. So I don't know what the hell y'all.
Well, I don't either. So.
Yeah.
lucky.
No, I love the really the balance, because a lot of times you see an artist will put a white outline, and I think sometimes that it helps around your characters. But sometimes I do it, but I used to do it a lot. But I think it shows more of your understanding of light and depth and shadow when you don't.
Mhm.
But you can still show the contrast of the lights and darks, and reflective light, bounce light, and all that stuff, and what you did with Brian's cape, and then the ice on his front part of his body, his shoulder, like that was a good touch. And like you said, you can gradually see as it's receding, the background to the foreground, like it's really bringing out a lot of those details, and I mean, it looks amazing, even all the way to the mountains. Like it's a solid balance, man. The colors, dude, are like crazy. They work together. It's like the artist. It's like a musician who sings and plays the keyboard at the same time. Like it's the perfect combination.
I wish, dude. No, there's so much to improve.
You can definitely tell that your love for backgrounds is there, because there's a lot of soft, small details that I would probably just skip altogether, because I'm thinking it's so far back in the back, we'll just kind of indicate it.
Yep.
But you've actually got some light and shadow rendering in those areas, and it really makes the whole thing come together.
Thank you.
Well done, man.
I know.
Wow.
The background kind of reminds me of like a Bob Ross painting with the mountain and the trees.
Let's do
Happy little
Evil Ross.
trees, and then those cabins, and he never got rid of that.
Just replace Bob Ross's fro with the long, luscious, illustrious locks of our lead illustrator.
Calm and precise.
Yes.
It's if Bob Ross was on the cover of a romance novel, is what that is.
And stressed whenever he's painting, like, oh, this looked like, goddamn, I have to redo this. He's like so chill, like, just trust the process. Like, never
Just beat the devil out of it.
You're right. That's crazy.
Fantastic work, brother, as always. I just realized this. So the moon actually makes the very light highlighting that you're doing on the edges of their lines here make all the sense in the world. Like it's just enough, right?
That's the good part about like snow, because it's the perfect background, right? Like it's white, so you get the contrast to you. But I actually wanted to add warm light, but then when I was painting, I forgot to do that in the first planning of the drawing, and I was like, yeah, now the sky needs something else. It needs stars, and it needs a moon, because otherwise it's gonna look weird without any light. So the drawing, because Kanan can attest to this more than anyone, because he thinks about light in his render more than I do, because I'm gonna color it. So his black and white pieces is already rendered based on a light, like be it a global light or whatever. That there is a fill light, there's everything is there. Like the colors just have to map things out and understand what Kanan's think about. So I didn't do that in my drawing, because I ended up knowing that I was going to color it, and then I didn't plan for it. So I had to adapt a little bit. But when you render based on like knowing what type of light you're gonna get, like it's easier to add warm light or cool light and everything.
I think even the colors of we know how orange and rich Isom suit is, but like you said, the moon is what gives it that blue, what naturally gives the sky and evening that kind of blue kind of overtone. And so even muting his suit to fit with the color scheme, man, was brilliant.
Blended in, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you.
Well done, man.
Excellent.
I wanted there's something I noticed. I don't know if it was intentional or not, Igor. The snowball sizes. It kind of looks like like Isom's is kind of smaller, and then
Yeah,
Brian's like mine's bigger. And then and they're unaware that Yaira's behind them and coming with like, oh, you're not ready for this. Freaking super
That's
massive.
cute, boys. All right.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, I wanted some gradation there, so you see, like, Isom's holding his like this, and then like,
It's small.
gonna smash. Brian thinks he's smart, right? Like, I'm gonna win this, and then little does he know. Yeah, it's nice to tell stories. Like, I like that all our pieces have stories. Like, that's a good part about comics.
That's the beauty of comics, telling
Yeah.
stories with the beautifully drawn visuals. Absolutely incredible work. That's such a fun piece. Thank God my phone has multiple screens. You know, one for the front, one for the lock screen, one for the home screen. All right, Mr. White, let's see this nonsense.
He said nonsense.
This nonsense. This is nonsense how good you are at what you do.
So I'm gonna preface. This wasn't the first or the second design.
We saw a
Before
lot.
you start playing it, there was one that actually was because I misunderstood what the assignment was. So the first one actually had the Magus coming into these kids' house, and so he was like the presents were all torn up, and the kids were like cowering against.
Oh, so he was like Krampus, basically.
Yeah, and they were like, "Oh my god!" So I was like, "Oh, that's not it." And so then I did another one that had some of the main characters versus the villains in the snowball fight, and I was like, "No, I don't got enough time to do that one." So then it went to this one, and this is the final. So
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Well, let's see.
The initial design, man, was
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Dokemon kind of. Well, we all know, people that know the Rippaverse, that he's kind of behind everything, or he knows everything. We don't know who he is yet, but he's like the mastermind behind things, and so he's kind of watching. As you see, he's rendering as I'm rendering. He's kind of watching key players just kind of play. Snowball fight, whatever, but they don't have no idea, man, that he's watching. Because even though it's winter time where they are for Dokemon, it's just time. So he's like, play as much as you want to, have fun, because after that, you never know what I'm about to do or what I'm gonna do. And so yeah, I mean it's pretty straightforward, man. Like I said, they're just kind of playing, and Yaira, creates her snowball, puts up a little ice shield to block Ingrid's using her whips, to throw her snowball, and then of course, Isom, watching and trying to, hit Brian, Solari, and he dodges, kind of thing. And so, like I said, it's pretty straightforward, man. Like, I just wanted to kind of show more so telling a story that, outside of the Rippaverse or in the cosmic, I guess, there's somebody watching and manipulating things. Because initially I was going to have them have strings on them. And like he was
okay.
a marionette.
Like he's pulling the string.
Yeah, like he's pulling the string.
Puppet.
And having them fight each other, which is why you had hero versus hero kind of thing. But even in the snowball fight, but I was like, I don't got time. So, and I had to do correct other art.
I love Kanan's reasonings for things. I didn't have time for that.
which is a good thing to notice when it comes to comics.
Sometimes the constraints make the piece.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You need to think about the deadline, right? Like, you can't do like whatever you want.
Can't do everything. And so
Yeah.
I mean that was pretty much it, man. Like I said, I just wanted to like make it something fun and cool, man. And I thought making kind of like a snow globe was kind of like a little, nice little touch, actually with the, I don't know if you noticed, like the shadowed snow on the edges.
Yeah, because it's pushed up against the glass.
Against the glass.
Yeah.
I was thinking back to my childhood, man. Like when I used to go to grade school, when I went to grade school, we would on the playground in the mornings, the dozers would push all the snow against the edge of the playground. And so basically everybody would play like King of the Mountain, and the hills were so big, man. Because here in Indiana, man, it snows a lot, and so used to. It doesn't snow as much as it, but it was just like a real heavy winter. So you had all the snow pushed up against the edge, man. So everybody would. And so that was kind of the idea with this, man. Like, they just got the snow pushed back, and they're kind of playing on the ice and just having fun. But little do they know, man, that outside of that, somebody's watching, and he's pulling the strings. So yeah.
My one comment that I have to make before I hand it over to the actual artist is I love how dynamic the movement is.
Yeah, I was going to
thank
ask
you.
you if you can open like the image and like zoom in on the globe, like
You
the
know
other
what?
image,
I probably
because
could.
like that's where like it shines the most. It's like every pose is so dynamic. It's like
Thank you. Thank you.
complete cover. Like you could use those poses on another piece, and it would be like, yeah, this is a cover already. Any of those
Thank you.
characters, it's
Thank
like
you.
there's so much power in every single one. But the one that I love the most is Ingrid, because she's using like you thought about
The
the
whip.
powers and how they use them and how each of them would fight, and
Yeah.
she's like using the whip and then the legs are like
Yeah.
everything looks it's the same with Eric, like the little details sell the piece, like the movement, like the legs and everything.
It
Yeah,
matters, man. Like
you
that's
really
part of
thought
the
about that.
that's part of the storytelling, man. Like when you're able to, like you said, Eric, when you want to show, and even going back to his picture, she didn't throw it like an adult. It's like a kid, so they're not gonna
Yeah,
hit like
exactly.
super massive,
Yeah.
but so like you said, her leg, the way it was tilted, and because kids sometimes they throw their whole body into it, they'll like fall
Yeah.
down trying to throw a snowball just because it's so dynamic. So, but then he said with mine, you got powerhouses, so everybody's like preternaturally strong. And of course, Ingrid isn't necessarily strong as it's in her whips. And so I wanted to kind of show kind of the weight of her pulling what she's throwing, and it's kind of delayed, because that's how whips are. Sometimes the weight of it, you may go forward and then it may come later, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of the idea with her.
Very cool. Yeah, I really like it.
It's not
That's
zooming
my
in.
favorite part of this.
Right, you gave Yaira a big snowball as well.
Yeah.
It's like you and Igor had the same idea for the massive snowball.
And it turned out so great.
Yeah, she could have made it. She could have made it a lot bigger, but she's trying to. Like I'm gonna bury you guys all the way.
Like, using all the snow in the globe, right?
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
There's a goal. Didn't it used to be a snow globe, and then it's like there's no snow and
Yeah,
everything.
right. This is the D.
Let's try
But
It
yeah.
would be a cool power for Yaira if you can control or manipulate the snow falling to make it all fall in one person.
Yeah.
Just
I
fill
don't
'em
know.
up
She
with
probably
snow.
could. I mean,
There
she
we
kind
go.
of manipulates
There we
the
go.
storms. So
There we
Ooh,
go.
there we go.
Brian, especially right here, looks just fantastic. You got
Eating
your
away.
you got the swirls here from him flying off at at speed.
Yeah.
But even just the movement with Avery tossing the snowball, you got the speed lines here because he's beaning him on the side. Gosh,
Oh man.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Yeah,
I
Ingrid's
love dynamic movement when it comes to
Yeah.
comic
so
art.
dynamic.
When in doubt, oversell what you're doing.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
True. Very good point.
And
It's a
that's
character too.
that's something that a lot of comic artists, even good ones that understand anatomy, understand, all sorts of different aspects of the process, will forget. And then you end up with artists who can do phenomenal pinups and, hero poses, but, then their
Yeah.
movement looks kind of static.
Yeah.
Everything is stone faced and
Yep.
rigid.
Yep.
And we're all guilty of it. I know I am, especially because I had such a stark focus on anatomy going through the schooling
Same.
that I want it to be more real than believable in my mind.
Yeah.
But what you want to actually produce is something that's more believable than real,
Mm.
which might not make sense to the average viewer. But It's the like the case of the squash and the stretch,
Yeah.
and then also with the like how we do those dynamic action shots where there's a
for shortening it.
you've got to over exaggerate
Yeah.
what's coming at the viewer or what action is happening for it to really sell it on the page. Whereas like a real photo, like in real life, we notice that depth.
Yeah.
But if you took a picture of this, it would flatten it out to some extent.
Yeah.
And then if you were to try to do to draw it like it is in a photograph, it flattens it out even more. So you really always have to exaggerate and oversell those things to make up for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's a really good bring.
There's one of the artists I know. Sorry, Igor. I was say one of the artists I know that was really good at that, and they kind of labeled him as an illustrator, but he was that in the portrait art. I mean, he was kind of so much more. But Norman Rockwell was good at taking realism. But then you see he would make these like just goofy faces with these kids, but it had so much expression and so much almost like he had
adding personality to it.
Yeah, like an illustrator's ability, man, with an animator's mind. It was like the characters had so much emotion, and so that's something that I always try to think about, man. Like even as much as possible, give the characters life. Brian had a smirk on his face. It's like, people. It's okay to smile. It's okay to look shocked. It's okay to be happy. That's how we are. Not everybody's like, grimacing all the time. So yeah.
And for anybody struggling with that, start drawing anime because the entire ethos of anime is the emotion selling first.
Yep.
Your structure and your anatomy, those all come in behind selling the emotion of whatever's going on.
Yep.
Exactly. Yeah, it's good to study more than just because it's a hard balance, right? Like the anatomy, like Erica was mentioning, like we get so much focus on that. Like, if I'm gonna draw superheroes, I have to draw anatomy.
Yeah.
But then you forget that some of the artists that you enjoy probably like were worried more about the gesture and the action behind it than the proper anatomy, right? Anatomy is like after you've done the shape and the form, and you've sold the movement, and then you go in and you add anatomy where it matters, because that's like you have to know that, but that's like an afterthought when it comes to selling movement. It's the next step after you've sold movement. And I know that I'm guilty of that, like all the time. Like you start rendering before you even sold the movement, and then you have to go back and redo that because
what's this action that I want to really sell? What's this movement and dynamicism that I want to really draw the reader's eye towards? Okay, this is what that is. Now how do I implement anatomy into that?
That's because when you take a picture, you're like posing, right?
Yeah.
You're not acting.
Yeah.
If you take a video, then you're acting. If you look frame by frame, that's why animation is so good. If you look frame by frame, some of the frames are just blobs, like because they sell the movement, right?
Yep.
That's to everybody who's watching, who's a new artist, or even if you're a seasoned artist, I would encourage you to learn to draw gestural as opposed to blocks and shapes. Those are good to start with, and they do keep the movement, but it's also good to learn to draw gestural because you keep the movement, you keep the, rather than shapes and angles, you think in curves and lines. And when you do that, like it starts to give the character fluidity, and so if you do it right, you can continue that to the to the final piece as well. So but
no, absolutely. Brief roundtable. What elements of the holiday season, of the Christmas season, December month of the year, were you really thinking of and honing in on? How did you implement those in the pieces that y'all did? Like how does the, even because artists and writers do this as well, they'll operate with emotions that they're feeling in the moment to tell the story on the page that they're working on, right? And so what was going on the inside in order to kind of like implement that and result in what we got here with these fantastic pieces?
I'd say for me, man, snow days. You know, as a kid, you know, it's one of the things I remember, man, is when I lived, you know, years ago, me and my brother, my cousin came over. We basically took snow, built a little bunker behind my dad's car, and just had a snowball fight. You know, and then, you know, got pictures and everything, man. It was hilarious. You know, I'll always remember that. But yeah, snow days, just having fun going out when it used to snow here, like really, really high, man. And you trudging through it, and it's all the way up to your knee and waist and all that stuff. So, yeah,
That's awesome. What about you, Igor?
Yeah, so I don't have that connection to the snow because, like Marcus
okay,
said,
Igor.
we don't have snow here. So the first time I
You
saw
also don't have
snow-
paved roads, so it's fine.
come on. But the first time I saw snow, I was actually 24 when I moved to England, and then like the day after I got there, it started snow. So it was amazing for the first day, and then a hindrance for the rest of it. That's everywhere.
That's the reality. You know, when you're a kid,
yeah.
it's like it's amazing.
Now you got to know how to
Oh,
drive in
oh
it
my
and
God.
travel in it.
Exactly. And then I spent like the next Christmas because I got there in January, and I spent the next Christmas because I lived there for a year. So I spent the next Christmas in England actually, with my family. My friend flew over to spend Christmas with me,
That's
and then it didn't snow, so we didn't get snow during Christmas because it doesn't really snow in England all that often, where I lived at least. So I was trying to remember like the movies and the TV shows that we get, like the Snow Day and Christmas episodes.
Yeah.
Because there's always this playfulness to it, like where people like kind of turn into kids again,
Yeah.
or let their own like inner child out. Because like Eric was saying, we'd never stop being children, like in most cases.
Yep.
So
Our toys
I was
just get more
trying.
expensive.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So I was trying to convey that like everyone has like gets to play around a little bit, and then like the heroes were playing for a little while. That's what I wanted to convey, and I wanted to start like some contrast between, because the last piece I made was really dark, so I wanted like this is gonna be light and fun, because although I like drawing horror stuff, I always like drawing like comedy. I was a cartoonist for the longest time, like talking about like making fun of current events. So it's nice to play with that. Like, can I convey this very well? Can I do this? Those are skills that, like, at least in narrative terms, you want to be able to hone. And this is a nice opportunity to try that, like a Christmas playful illustration. Like, so that's what I was going for.
It really shone through. It really shined through. Marcos, what about you, brother?
All I gotta say is honestly, it's family. Because for those that don't know, Stefania and Yaira, they're basically a familiar connection. I mean, they're basically family. So, and because of the beef and everything they had, I've always spent every Christmas and everything with my family. And it's not like I fight a lot or anything, but kind of wanted to show that whole even though they have this beef, they're still like playfully like, you know, having fun with each other in the snowball fight, at least for my piece. May not be shown much with Stefania because she's pissed, but you know, she's
always
playing
pissed.
along. And Yaira's like still like, you know, like not really doing much. She's like letting it happen, you know. Like let me let her have her fun. I still love her, you know, she's my family. It's that type of feeling.
Yeah, if you didn't care, you wouldn't be upset. So I mean, that's...
Yep.
Exactly. Mr. Hodson, how about you, sir?
I tried to remember the last time that I actually got into a snowball fight. So I think we still had black and white TVs back then.
Oh, wow.
But at any rate, anytime that I can remember playing in the snow, there's always a period of time where it just doesn't become fun anymore.
Right.
You know, it's too cold, or somebody hit you in the back of the neck and now it's running down your shirt. And that's what I was trying to capture, is like the split second where it went from this is fun to not having fun anymore.
That moment when the snow is just trickling down your back and you're just done with
Yeah.
everything.
It's in the point where you start sweating, you're like, why am I even out here?
Yep.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Or
Excellent
getting
break.
hit in the face and it just stings.
Oh yeah,
Stings, bro.
especially if it was that jerk with the ice ball
Yeah.
or the slush ball.
Yes.
That's a Calvin and Hobbes original right there. Calvin was big on slush balls. That's where I learned it from. I was that guy. All right, guys, I hope you got great insight into the processes of these fantastically talented gentlemen as we went through those time lapses. We've got a few more items to hit, one of which we want to shout out every single month that we do this show. We want to shout out anybody that sent in a super chat, whether it was during the premiere of the video recording itself or whether it was put into the chat afterwards. Because I guess that's now a thing, actually. You can like do super chats on videos after the fact, and it's just like a comment on the thing. That's cool.
Nice.
I'm not a YouTuber, so I don't know
That's
anything
nice,
about any of that, but that's pretty cool. I just work around YouTubers pretty frequently. So Scorpio04, who's a longtime supporter of the channel, of Eric's channel, and of our just what we do here at the Rippaverse. And this is regarding episode 2. So if you guys are unsure of what he's referring to in this, check out episode 2. He says, "Whoa, I just came in. Is Splatterpuss stabbing Gooding and threatening him with a picture of Gina? That's dark." Yes, Kanan, that was dark.
Yeah.
Yes, that was that's exactly what he was doing. And he was actually kissing the photo like, yep, she's mine now. And because, one of the things that, Gooding as he is, his character pretty much, I want to say, had it easy to kind of get where he is, but he is very like, it's like those situations where like, yeah, I don't really have any hard luck stories really. It's like I just kind of grew up and went to school and got a job, and that's kind of like Gooding. So, exactly. And so, what do you do when you have the answers? I mean, that's basically Gooding. So I wanted to like, give him a little skin in the game. Like, okay, let's give Gooding some conflict. And so, him being pinned to the ground with, by Splatterpuss, and then, him threatening, his wife was like, yeah, that takes Gooding from being just kind of like, to
in control, right? Like,
yeah. So, yes, he was being stabbed.
Thank you, Scorpio, for the $10 super chat. We appreciate you. All right. Just about lastly, let's get our artist's thoughts on a fan art piece.
Right on.
So this piece is from Sojak, who, at least I'm pretty sure I'm pronouncing that right. If I'm not, I don't know how to help you. This is a fantastic piece.
Oh,
I love the movement going on in this piece and the perspective.
Yeah.
Him.
I'm gonna mostly shut up on this one. This one's on y'all.
It's very good.
Yeah,
Let's get y'all's thoughts.
The grittiness there, the texture, and the details is really selling the speed.
Yes.
Like if you look really closely, there's a lot of small hatching through. There's no solid line. There's a lot of small hatching through. So that's giving you the impression of like a speed blur.
Yeah.
And so that's really selling her coming forward. It's really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the debris.
Yeah, exactly. That like background.
Yes.
Like that stuff helps sell so much. Like the debris, like Marcus said. Very good.
The details.
It looks like he's coming from. Sorry, Kanan.
No, you're good, man. Go ahead.
He went through that other building in the background on the right.
Yeah.
It almost feels like he came through that and then now he's down here.
Yeah. Exactly. You can feel the movement like like right at you. That's one thing that's good to know, like to sell the action coming to the camera most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to sell a punch, like most of the time, or obviously like if you're a good artist, you can sell it otherwise, but you want to throw the punch to the camera, You want
Yeah.
to show the impact, not hide it.
Yeah.
So that's very good. Like the imminence of a punch coming right like at you. That's very good action.
It's so different, man. Like it even looks like he tilted the image
Hmm
in a way because you see her, like you said, her speed debris or whatever that is. You know what I'm saying? Like the of her moving fast, the
Mhm.
wake of
There's
her
ice.
debris and
Yeah.
stuff coming out. Like it's almost like the way he tilted it, man. Like it was very unique, man. It's like that's why I was tilting my head. I was like, okay, let me see. And if you think about it, I think she's probably flying at an angle.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you but the way that he tilted
Oh,
it, man,
yeah.
it's very dynamic and I like what he did with her hair too. That's kind of a different style. for
Yeah.
her.
Yeah, like she's going so fast that her hair's just kind of whipped back.
Yeah. It's almost like she got it tucked. It's like, huh,
Yeah.
that's an interesting style for Yaira. But I actually like the rich deep blue he added too to her suit. Which is
Yeah,
a little
everything
different.
else is kind of muted.
Uh-huh.
Like shades of
Really
brown,
pops with the
gray.
orange in the background too.
Yeah.
Good contrast. Excellent lighting too, with the energy coming off of her hands and
Like lighting her face, right? Like so
Yeah.
it has like we talked about this before, like female characters, you don't want to put too many lines in. Like
Right.
you want to show like a kind of like fair skin or something like that. You don't want to add too much like shadows, anything like that. So it's really good. The coloring for the face, really good. One thing that I really like is like the background. You can put a vanishing point anywhere, but
Yes.
it looks like because there is a building going like this, and then the other one's going like this, and it's kind of framing her.
Yeah. Yep.
And if it was like if none of those buildings it's falling, it doesn't make any sense. But
Yeah.
it's completely sewed because like it could be like one of the buildings is falling or
Yeah,
something
that's
like
what it
that.
feels like she's
That's what I was
flying.
gonna say.
Yeah.
Exactly, and it frames her perfectly. Like it's kind of like a photo or something like that. It's a very good.
Extremely well done.
Yeah.
Quick reminder before we get final thoughts on this piece to see what you guys would change, if anything. Guys, there is a poll in the chat right now for y'all to, as we do every single episode, have you guys vote on what your favorite piece was by the artists. This month there will be 4 options. There will be the piece by Eric, there will be the piece by Kanan, Marcos, and Igor. So that poll will close later on towards the end of the show, which we are getting close to. So make sure you guys get your vote in, and we shall see who the winner is. Right now, I believe Igor is our reigning champion from last
Yeah,
show.
I don't want to brag.
Igor has the belt right now. He has the belt.
Igor's got the belt. Is he gonna drop the belt or is he gonna retain? Will he defend?
Is he the Intercontinental Champion?
Will he win once more? We shall see. All right, guys, what would you change about this piece, if anything?
The only thing I would change is the front arm. It works, but like my mind keeps saying, put the arm out a little bit, and make the fist way up. Like where Eric is doing it, and the way he looks in his camera. That's
or shortening.
Yeah, that's kind of like
shortening. Yeah,
that'd be the only thing I would say tweak. But beyond that, because I think having the hand up, although it looks cool, is almost like putting on the brakes.
yeah,
Her momentum, and it's kind of like stopping. It's almost like wind resist. So, but if she's flying that fast, either you have it like this, out at you like that, or you have the fist out, or something to that effect. So, it's one of those things, and like that, that'd be the only thing I would change. Other than that,
the fifth.
love it.
yeah. For me, I'm looking at it, and I really like the sense of speed that we're getting from the debris, but I'm not really feeling it in the front as much as the rear. So I think what I would kind of like to see is maybe some of that debris in a cloud, a little bit more of this kind of a swirl. Where you get an idea that she's actually kind of creating the vacuum, like you do a sonic boom. It's because there's a vacuum created and you have the air rushing back in. So I'd want to try to visualize that to maybe make that seem a little bit more intense and faster. And then, of course, mirroring what Kanan said, she's kind of up like this, So it's a little bit of a stop, and her energy is doing the same thing. So it's almost like her front isn't going as fast as her rear. It's kind of how it seems. So
And slow it down, yeah.
so that you reinforce the action that's going on as she's coming through.
Yeah, I agree.
Marcos, your thoughts?
Honestly, the same thing. I was thinking about the fact that there was some debris missing in the foreground at the bottom. It's just coming at us. It's like everything, just like Eric said. And make this force that's happening in the front, because he is coming at a high speed, given by the the background.
Yeah.
Something that kind of confused me a little bit was the energy coming out of her right arm, the back one. I sort of feel like that should probably go behind her skirt,
True.
like behind
Yeah.
her.
Oh, I see. Yeah, and it's actually it's foreground.
It's like coming from her, but the
Yeah.
movement makes it seem like it should be like he's leaving it behind, like a trail, like it should
Yeah.
be behind her.
Would
would've
help
done that
sell
at
the
first.
movement as well.
It would.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a very good
And,
point.
That's a good call, Marcos.
Yeah.
Because
The
right
other
now it
thing-
looks like her arm's back here, so you would expect the energy to be arcing
energy
behind her.
be
but
trailing
instead
behind her. Yeah.
Instead, it's coming forward up to where her hip is.
Yeah.
I think, and sometimes, man, when people kind of illustrate Yaira's power, I don't think they understand that it's not like lightning.
Yeah.
But it's just cold energy. You know what I mean? Like I'm saying, like it's ambient energy. So it would, like you said, Marcos, it would definitely leave a trail behind her as opposed to being stuck to. Otherwise, either she created an ice whip and froze it to her thigh, or
that would be uncomfortable.
Yeah, it was like, it would just break. It was like, so, but yeah, I mean that would be, definitely an adjustment that could be made to make it better. So
yeah, those are
also,
small details to help. Go ahead, Matt.
No, it's okay. I was just gonna say that I would also add like a little bit of smoke coming off of the the debris, I guess, from the movement. Because breaking through like the building, the cement and all that, the concrete, I'm pretty sure it would probably produce some dust at least.
Yeah.
At least at the bottom.
Yeah, just to add to that, like, because to all that you guys mentioned, it would actually help have less detail in the background. Like, he would have to draw less detail, because if you add debris to the front, the nice thing is that you don't have to draw what's behind it. So you can actually hide like because you're drawing like big rocks and chunks of metal and stuff like that. It's easier to draw than like properly placed like windows and perspective, stuff like that. So you could like hide a lot of that. If we added on top of that, like the guys were talking about, like the fist or something like that, you have room to make that happen at the bottom or at the top. Like that hand would actually be painful to draw in some sense, because it's like foreshortened, you have to think about perspective. But it's not as thoroughly demanding as like drawing windows and stuff like that, so you could hide that as well. The other thing that I would add, like Marx was talking about smoke, that would cover some of that as well, make life easier to draw. I know it sounds like a lot of shortcuts, but that's exactly what it is, like these graphic ways of hiding some of the stuff and making your life easier. Because like it or not, the spectator is gonna look at it, and no artist is known for drawing like the perfect background. What you're known for is drawing action characters, different styles of action, right? Like the background is the place where your characters live, but that's the place where your character live, like where he acts, where he takes like a punch or something like that. So everything has to be about the character, right? Like, it would save time to have those things like wisps of smoke and something like that to cover up. And it's the perfect excuse, because it's like that's exactly what's happening, right? Like, she's coming through a building or something like that. Just to add a final thought, those tiny, like the kind of like dust going out because she's going through, I would simplify them a little bit. If you think about like animation, like Arcane does that really well, where they sell like 2D like a burst of dust coming
Right.
out of the ground.
Energy, yeah.
Yeah, and you can use simply like a big, medium, and small to it, where like there is a big shape and then small, medium
You
shape and then a
gradually
small
gets.
shape. Yeah,
I got you.
and then you add something graphic to it because you don't have to add that much detail. It's
Yeah.
nice that he thought about that and hatched everything, but he could simplify it a little bit. So it's all about making our life easier because he has put in the work. Now it's done. It's great. It's awesome, but he
Yeah.
could have like made his life easier with like some tricks that actually would help like simplify and sell like a better piece, like coming together in terms
I
of
agree.
graphic design at least. But
Yeah.
obviously it looks amazing, like it's done and it's
Yeah,
perfect,
yeah.
almost perfect. Like these are just nitpick for the next piece, right? Like you're thinking about like how can I improve my life as an artist.
Yeah, what can I apply that I've learned from this piece to my next piece to
To the
make my
next
next
one.
piece not just
Mhm.
better, but also making my life easier in the
Yeah,
process?
and this
That's smart.
I'm saying this like I'm thinking about this in my pieces as well. Like how can
Yeah.
I make my
Mhm.
life easier
Yep.
and simplify my form and stuff like that.
Well, this is why, like, what we just did is a perfect example of how, if you want to do this as a profession, you need an editor.
Yes.
At least one
True.
editor.
Yeah.
Artists need editors too. I know there's a lot of noise out there that says you don't need an editor, but don't listen to those people.
Yeah.
Because, and I'll just take this opportunity to praise the editorial staff you guys have there at Rippa, Andrew, Caro, Soka Sisters. Thank you for helping with green, because I'm blind to that kind of stuff. And I know as artists, you work on a piece long enough, you become face blind
Yeah.
to your own mistakes, which is why you've got to flip it over.
Yep.
You've got to turn it. You got to look at it different ways. But having fresh eyes, there is no greater substitute than that.
Yep.
Yep.
And do it before you
But
ink
it's
it.
good.
Exactly.
Yeah. Hopefully.
Yeah. Right.
Ideally.
I was gonna say that that's why it's good to if you're making a drawing or piece, any type of work, honestly, artwork, sorry, it's good to take breaks in
Yes.
between like what you're
True.
doing. So
Yes.
when you come back to the drawing, you have fresh eye
Yep.
and you could
Yeah.
see the mistakes much more easily than if you just step through it all in one sitting and finish the whole drawing. Happens
Yeah.
often to me actually, but
Well, it's the same thing with writers. Writers have to
Yeah.
sometimes step away and be like, okay, I'm gonna come back to this either in a few hours or in a day or so, and I'm gonna take a look at what was my last chapter that I wrote. If you're feeling a
Because you
little
come in
stuck on
as an
exactly how to
outsider, right?
proceed, yeah,
Yeah, you come in as an
Exactly.
outsider. You're
you got
looking at
a
it.
different set of lenses
Like a
on it.
reader.
Yeah.
Getting
Yeah,
your eyes
Like
kind
a
of.
reader, yeah.
correct.
I could have it on a Control C, Control V because I do that all the time. Like, and we have a chat on Teams, like Sketchpad, where we
Yeah.
send everything, and
Yep.
I'm always like, I'm gonna let this one rest, work on something
Yeah,
else,
you do,
because
yep.
then I can come back with fresh eyes and look at it again, and maybe it's like just tweaks, but maybe it's something else. Like you could improve on something else. Like Eric said, like having an editorial team, having other people, because comics are kind of a lonely job when you're doing it by yourself. So having other people that you can trust, even if it
Yeah.
is like an art community, that's
Yeah.
why I encourage people so much to share on Discord, on Guilded, on Twitter, and tag us, because whenever we can, we're gonna do this. Like, if you want, have your piece checked out by us. Like, just tag us and talk about it. We're gonna try our best to have a piece that we can talk about here, review. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sojak, for doing such a phenomenal piece of Yairo. Hopefully, you were able to take away some insight from the handful of nitpicks
Everyone go
and
follow him on
ideas. Yes.
Instagram. He's
Yes.
very active
Yep.
there, on Twitter.
Check out
as
his
well.
Instagram for
awesome.
sure. We'll remember to have the link for that in the description down below. And also I'll try and remember, because I'm sure I'm going to be the one mostly moderating the chat. I'll try and remember to be dropping the link to that as well when the recording premieres live. But guys, thank you so much for all of the insight that you brought. Everybody in the chat, thank you for hanging out with us. Please be sure to go check out Achromatic Chronicles Green over on Rippaverse.com. Mr. Hodson here is the interior artist on that. He also did the main cover for it. Igor wound up contributing some awesome promo pieces as well, which are a ton of fun to look at and see. And yeah, Jay and Eric are doing something incredibly important over there, which is creating content that is appropriate for families with young children, that parents can feel comfortable putting in front of their children, because there's not enough of that in entertainment. So please go pre-order that. You got 3 cover options for both Achromatic Chronicles Green as well as the first book, Achromatic Chronicles Blue, which is now available through Rippaverse as well. You can get it on the same campaign page. You got t-shirts. You got signed and graded series that you can get as well as part of the order. It's absolutely important to go support not just independent comics in general, but kid-friendly content. So please do so if the mood takes you. And thank you so sincerely much to everybody who already has, because as we said earlier, Achromatic Chronicles Green crossed over 80K last night as of this recording, which is fantastic. We're almost at that six figures with it. We can get it there. Let's see if we can get it there by the end of the year. We got a couple of weeks, almost a week and a half. Let's see where we can get it, guys. Next month, I'm not sure who's going to be hosting. If it's going to be myself, if it's going to be Caro, or if it's going to be somebody else entirely. But I think we're batting around the idea of the prompt theme having something to do with New Year's. So look forward to that. Thank you, everybody who voted for your favorite. Who do you guys think is going to get voted for the most? Now I'm putting you on the spot because nobody wants to vote for themselves, even though they really do want it.
Oh, I'd vote for Kanan.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
I appreciate it. I'll vote for Andrew. No, I'm sorry.
Vote for me. I'll quickly whip up the Andrew sketch version of this.
Oh no, man. I mean, I vote Marcos. Yeah.
No,
Excellent. You all had excellent pieces, and it was a privilege to be able to show them off and show off the process that you guys had with each of them. So thank you one final time, everybody. Make sure you hit like on this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Make sure you guys subscribe and follow all of these guys on the various social media. We will have those links down below. Once again, Achromatic Chronicles Green. Go pre-order that. Blood Ruth is still available for pre-order right now as well over on Rippaverse.com. We also have the young Isom statue, and we have the Trinity Omnibus Collection, Volume 1, which is a collection of a remastered Isom 1, Alpha Core 1, and Yaira 1, so our kind of 3 hallmark lead books, first issues of those, all collected in 1 volume. You got a softcover and a hardcover option, which is oversized hardcover, limited in print run too. There's only going to be 1,000 of those, so make sure you guys check that out. It's going to be a great either coffee table piece or display piece. You guys see I frequently swap out the comics I have displayed behind me and next to me because that's fun to do. Creates a great conversation piece as well. So thank you so much, guys, for all the support you've shown for all of our projects that we have going on over Rippaverse and Rippascend. You can look forward to a heck of a lot more on both.
Yes, sir.
But until then, guys, I think we're gonna sign off and call this one handled. I think you guys are the greatest art team I could possibly work with. Mr. Hodson, we don't work together, but you're fantastic as well, and I appreciate all of the time that you took out of your busy schedule to hang out with us and chat with our internal artists. You're awesome. Jay's awesome. Shout out to you, Jay, Drunk 3PO. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Thank you for watching the recording and enjoying the podcast and showing all the support that you do for everything that we do here. And have a Merry Christmas. Godspeed.